And you're very welcome along to Off the Brawl, your dedicated fight show on Off the Ball. Lots to get into this week from both sides of the Atlantic. And joining me to go through all the headlines are Phil Egan and Andy Lee. Lads, how are we doing?
And Ronan, how you doing?
I have to say, in this era of TV deals and exclusivity and all this kind of stuff, it's great to see Andy Lee, who can go from Sky Sports to BT Sports to BBC at the weekend. How did you get on?
Grand, yeah, it's good. It's good to be on good terms with everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of...
You're a cross-platform performer.
Although you would like a contract with somebody, it's to kind of having independence is kind of freeing as well, yeah.
You get to pick your fights as well, which is good.
I get to just say yes to whatever fights they choose me for. That's what
you kind of get a good diary.
Yeah, that's what I don't have, and I'm up. I'm just going, I'm living day to day, basically, you know.
What's your favourite commentary so far?
Wilder Fury. Anytime you work on Mike Costello, you have to raise your game, you have to be on it, like, you know what I mean? And you have to really add something first, because it's radio too. People can't see what's going on, so you have to really explain everything in a succinct way, be quite descriptive, and also with every round you have to say something new. You know, you can't say the same thing. So that's a good challenge.
Yeah.
And I like that. And also being in LA with the big fight was good.
We'll have to get Mike on sometime. He's such a thoughtful guy, because I heard him speaking and asked what his favourite commentary was, and like the ones you mentioned spring to mind, but he was actually pointing out ones where there's a bit of a lull in the fights, and maybe like Fury against Klitschko, because it was such a difficult one. It pushed him to perform well because there wasn't much happening. He had to describe that there wasn't much happening.
He's incredible. Like, you know, I just turn up and just call it as I see it, you know, wing it. He prepares, you know what I mean? Like the night before, he won't go out, he'll stay in his room, basically, and just, you know, just be quite meditative and do his research. He turns up with a stack of papers like that of research and things, but he's just out on the cuff then. He's just boom, 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 and he's calling it exactly as he sees it in the moment, you know?
Probably puts all that, collates it all on himself, and I kind of find from doing stuff with stats, like once you collate it yourself, like it stays in your head.
Yeah, he's unreal, though. He's definitely... Like, you know, you don't want to disrespect anybody else, but he's the best.
He's number one.
Yeah, he's number one.
It's not even particularly close in Britain, anyway. How was Stevenage? What's that kind of venue like?
Stevenage, it was not like for. Are they even league? Are they non-league?
No, they're in the league. Yeah.
What are they? Conference or something?
Why am I thinking they're like League 2 or something?
They got a nice little ground.
Yeah,
nice little ground. Yeah. I was over there with Paddy Donovan. I brought him over to spar with Josh Kelly. So myself and Steph got picked up in a nice S-Class. Yeah. We've given Paddy the full VIP treatment. Nice. You know, like let them see this is like, Paddy's like this every day, you know, this is what it's like in my life. And we drove up there and went straight to the fights, not straight through, and we were ringside, and he got to meet all these, he got to meet Fury, and he got to meet like some of the guys, and he knew a few of the lads from his amateur days, like Woody Hudson, who was on the card. And we had a good time, we had a good time.
And no trade secrets, but the spars were entertaining, were they?
They were very good spars. He sparred Josh Kelly, and he did quite well. And Josh is a really good special, like, you know, so you can imagine what the sparring was like between those two guys, if you know their styles, that both of them had their hands down. You kind of have to do that, even though, like, you know, because if someone's doing that against you with your hands down and they're like this, you become quite robotic, and everything becomes forced if you try to be quite fundamental then. So you kind of have to get with the program and go with it. You know, you kind of have to play that game. And it was really, really good, high intensity, high skilled sparring. And Paddy did really well, yeah. Yeah,
because I remember it's something you touched on before, this idea that even not practical improvements, but even instinctual things where you have to react to what your opponent's doing, and then they become instincts of your own almost.
Yeah, and there's a mirroring, like, you know, it's some sort of on like a neurological neuroscience level. It'll happen anyway, you know, that you will mirror what's in front of you. Me and Paddy discussed that. I said, like, whatever he does, whatever his approach is, not that you want to be too reactive, you should do it as well, and anybody should do it. If your opponent comes out and he's bouncy on his toes, you almost have to get bouncy, or else you're going to be flat-footed, you know. And if your opponent comes out and he sits low, if he gets down low, if he's in his legs, you kind of have to get low as well, or else you're exposed at a higher level, you know, at a height. But Paddy does a lot of things well. From, like, you know, he's starting off so this is like he's starting level. It's quite high, you know. He does things. He's got a very good punch. He's got fast feet, fast hands. He's got good reflexes. He just needs to add some things. some things that he has to build up some instincts about when to attack and when not to attack. Also, to be more comfortable on the inside when his back's over against the ropes, and to take his head low and low and low, because he still has that amateur thing where he pulls out high. That's it. But like those are things that he will build on. But like already, what he's doing now is very good.
And just sparring from an amateur standpoint and sparring from a pro standpoint, are the goals you want to get out of your sparring sessions vastly different?
Well, like just say for this one, for Paddy, he's going up against Josh Kelly, who's one of the hottest prospects in boxing. Probably beyond the prospect now, moving into contender. And obviously it's a big day for Paddy going in with him. So he's going to want to prove himself. And it's a measuring stick for him to see where he's at now. But for Josh, he's kind of in a no-win situation, because this kid coming in as an amateur, if I absolutely paced him, I'm the bad guy. But not that would be Josh Kelly's approach. If Josh Kelly could pace Paddy, he would have, because if Paddy doesn't belong in there, he should be taken out. So both guys are giving it their all. Not that they're trying to hurt each other or would take a liberty if a guy, if anything happened, but they're trying to box at their best. And that was it for Paddy. It was just to see where he's at now. And when you're in with someone like Josh Kelly, if you have any mistakes, they will be highlighted. So it was a very good spar. It was illuminating for me as a coach. And for me and Paddy, having those few days together, we kind of found a good dynamic between ourselves. We obviously we're still forming our relationship as if this happens, if we go down this road, which is not yet certain as coach and boxer, and but we found a good level in which we can work at. So it's very excited. I came back from the weekend very excited about Paddy and very infused about him. All the things that I thought watching him from the outside were confound.
Just in terms of something you mentioned there about replicating somebody's style. So if your opponent is bouncing, that you want to bounce with them, would you say that to all fighters, or say maybe there's a fighter that's not actually that comfortable being up on their feet?
It depends. Like, if your fighter's a short, aggressive guy who comes forward, that's his thing. He's not going to bounce. He's not going to stand up and bounce, but he'll have to wake his feet up. He'll have to be quicker on his feet or some way, but he's not going to stand up and bounce. He's going to have to maybe bounce from a squat. But I think, I do, for the most part, it works, but not in all cases. There are no absolutes, are they?
Yeah. And one of the master boxers on show at the weekend was Billy Joe Saunders. But before we get on to his performance, just speaking last week to Eric Donovan and Luke Keeler just about the issue of doping in boxing, and the punishment has to fit the crime and so on. Like the WBO putting Billy Joe Saunders right back in, Phil, for a world title fight off the back of those indiscretions doesn't sit quite well, does it?
No, it doesn't really send out the message. Like, a punishment is, you're going to fight for a vacant title against a guy that you're going to beat, and you're going to get to fight in your backyard, your own backyard. So he wins. And interesting to see some of the quotes he was talking about after, like that the reason he moved up from middleweight is because the likes of Canelo and Triple G don't want to fight him, and he's talking about Callum Smith now. But it was in terms of the performance, like, it was what you expect. Like, he's so slippery and elusive. It must be so frustrating to try and hit him. He got caught in the sixth a little bit, and he wobbled a bit, but like probably just maybe a lack of concentration. But he certainly enjoyed it anyway, and he looked in good shape. But going back to what you said, not exactly a harsh punishment.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, a lot of the times I would, obviously the punishment should fit the crime. The only thing I would say about Billy Joe Saunders is that he failed for a nasal spray, which is not banned anywhere, not even by the WBO, only in Massachusetts. It is banned in certain states, but Massachusetts being one of them. That just happened to be where he's fighting.
Yeah, no, it's fair.
So it's fully legal in the UK and everywhere else. So the only place where he failed, though, was Massachusetts, not in the UK or not by the WBO.
Yeah.
So in some ways,
it's not Miller,
well, you just got to think about it. Like, Frank Warren has so much strength with the WBO that he can maneuver a fighter straight into position to fight for the belt against the 7th ranked super middleweight in Germany, not less the world. He's only 47 on BoxRec, you know. So, tough man, and he had a good game plan, but he didn't execute it well. You know, he had a game plan of the typical German thing where you cover up and you let the other guy do all the work, and then at the end of it, you open up with a big punch. What he should have done, Safi, is punch with Billy Joe. Yeah. Instead of cover up and take one or two and then throw, instead of just sitting there in the pocket. But then they're saying that you're also being peppered at the same time, so it's hard to open up because you will expose yourself. And he hurt, Billy Joe, up to the point where Billy Joe got hurt, he was looking really good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then after that, he just kind of not played safe, but it was cautious.
It looked like he was going to finish him if he hadn't got stung himself in that sixth round. But
it's not going to be an issue at super middleweight for Billy Joe, where some of his opponents will think, you know, I could actually take a few off him to throw a few.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously,
he was punching with power
didn't really do
himself,
that.
Billy Joe. He had him hurt a couple of times. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's like showing that little chink in his armour that he can be hurt at the weight might entice somebody to box him. Like, I don't know. He's obviously said he can't get these big fights. But it must be frustrating for him, but his talent is undeniable, isn't it? His talent is undeniable. It just needs to get moving now. It needs to be consistent. It needs to get fighting. Like, he's had one fight in 17 months, and that was against Adamu, I think, on the Warrington Frampton undercard. So he needs to get busy.
Is it good, though, now that he's kind of in with Ben Davison now, and he's around Tyson Fury a lot more, and he must be looking at Tyson Fury, and like Tyson Fury since the Wilder fight, you know, he was back in the gym and he's looking even leaner, and maybe Billy Joe was looking at him going, I want to...
trying to stay positive.
He seemed to have cleaned up his diet a bit. Like, obviously, his diet would be... He always made weight, Billy Joe.
I think he's working with the same nutritionist who was with Kell Brook when he was making 147. Being... And this is to go back to Paddy, speaking to him as an experience, but being a professional boxer is not what you do in the ring. It's not what you do in the gym. It's how you live your life outside of those things. It's about being a boxer and professional boxer 24 hours a day and having the right lifestyle. And at a certain point, you can get away with it. And against guys like Safi, you might be able to get away with it, you know? Yeah. Where he can't finish you when you've been hurt. But against the better fighters, they'll have it in the tank to push you back and to keep going, you know, to sustain that pressure. So... that's basically it for him. He's got to get busy. He said he'd like to fight in July, so get back out there and get, even if it's not a world-rated opponent, like a top 5 opponent, get busy and have another fight. And
super middleweight,
keep showing how good you are until somebody wants to challenge you for your belt. But WBO have said that he has to fight the mandatory, but they're yet to say who the mandatory is.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Be interesting to see how that plays out. But discipline has always been the issue for him, like in and out of the ring almost. And approaching his 30th birthday, he's on to his 3rd coach. And I suppose entering your 30s, you have to kind of modify your style a little bit, not least the fact that he's moving up in weight as well. Have you noticed many modifications? I
don't know, I think it's a progression. I think it's a progression of, like with Jimmy Tibbs, Mark Tibbs, Dominic Ingle, even though that was short, because Ben Davison was working with Billy Joe before the fight with me.
Yeah. And
the fight after me, when he had that fight in Scotland. Remember, Davison was his coach. Yeah. So they have a relationship, you know. And I just think it's a continuation of the work that he's got that style. He's always kind of had that style. Jimmy Tibbs would work it, and I don't think you can really say it. It looked like he was punching in combinations a lot more, and he do seem to do a lot of combinations in the gym. I don't see there being a big difference.
It's interesting how
he's tricky. Like he wasn't just, you know, he did show some different aspects to his game. And I think that he used to just be a straightforward southpaw that he would pop the jab, hold his leg, and then let his hands go kind of quick. Where this time he was a little bit more three-dimensional with his head movement, that he had different angles, and that he punched in combinations. But that should still be within the progression of what he's doing.
And it's interesting that he's changed coaches, because often it's an excuse. If you lose a fight, you switch coach. But like, he, off the back of his wins...
never mind. Adam Booth was in there as well, you know.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Like, I've never seen it, and it's probably, you know, some sort of testament to Adam. two boxers are fighting. One beats the other boxer, i.e. Billy Joe beats me, and then the winning fighter comes over and trains on our team. You know what I mean? Trains with the losing coach. So that'll show you how the way Adam's held. But he's chopped and changed, and for whatever reasons.
Yeah, it's almost as if just to keep himself interested or a change of location, because his best performance ever was against Lemieux under the Ingles. And
I say that's not his best performance. His best performance is beating me.
Oh well.
I'd smash Lemieux.
But his most complete performance. You should have beaten him, Andy.
Yeah, I know. I had a bad night. Nah, like that. Whatever way the fight went, he still beat me. You know what I mean? Lemieux's a brawler. It's not his best performance, even though it's probably whatever on paper, but it's not really.
I suppose it was just from a defensive point of view, the power that Lemieux had. He never laid a glove on him, and there was that famous, look away, and he did it again actually the other night.
In Lemieux's backyard as well. All those factors on HBO, like, they all picked Lemieux to win that fight, so...
Lemieux was terrible, that, wasn't he?
Yeah, well...
Brutal.
He's great if you're standing right in front of him.
Yeah. I don't know.
Our next guy who we're going to discuss, Deontay Wilder. If you stand in front of him, you're getting blasted.
Yeah.
I said that in the preview to the fight. Fury might lay the blueprint to beat Wilder, but who can do what Fury can do? Yeah. Certainly Dominic Brazil couldn't, But even that, remember the quote from Wilder before the Fury fight, that, Fury pretty much has to have a perfect performance, whereas Wilder just needs one perfect punch, and he was... Not even a perfect punch, just a punch.
Just a punch. It's absolute dynamite. Even watching the fight the other night when he rocked Brazil, and then Brazil actually caught him with a right hand, and he retreated a little bit, and then it was just over like that. Just watching, it's what happened? He's gone.
That's the way heavyweight fights should end within 3 rounds, shouldn't they? Two big men are punching each other. They shouldn't be going 12 rounds. That's Joe. Did you ever see that Joe Joyce clip? Big Joe, the bare knuckle travelling fighter. No two men should be going 12. Should be going 2 or 3 hours. A good fight should be over in 3 a few minutes, and it should be busted up.
And it's true. His hands on petrol.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm so good.
But I thought even watching the fight, it was on Sky, and the commentary team were critical of the referee for even counting Brazil.
But how short are their memories?
That's what I was screaming at the TV. I was like,
the last thing they saw was Fury getting up from that exact punch in the 12th round, let alone the first round.
And in fairness, Brazil, he got to his feet.
Yeah, but it was a very fast count as well. Compared to Fury's, which was...
There is theories about that Fury count.
See, the 10-second count, Andy knows more than us, but it's not exactly 10 seconds. It's the referee's discretion. It's can you make the count? Jack Reese that night was walk towards me, walk around to prove. If Brazil had gotten up and walked in a straight line, he probably would have let him continue.
Tyson Fury was dancing after.
Oh, the fact that Fury basically won the rest of that round is pretty incredible. But you touched on it, Andy, there. Not everyone can do it. In fact, no one else can do what Fury did. So is there another way, say the Joshua Wilder fight is the one everybody wants to see. How does Joshua disarm Wilder? Joshua
would have to try and model himself on Klitschko to use his size, and use his left hand. Because when Wilder would throw that right hand to block, a la Klitschko, put up that left hand to block, because he has this. I think he's naturally fit. He's obviously the bigger man physically in terms of his body size.
Yeah,
and also just take a little step back, or a little head move, a little dip. You just can't be stationary. You can't just be stationary. Whenever he, and then when you go back to the Fury fight, when he was dropped, it was because he was in the centre of the ring in that last round, and he wasn't a switch, because when your back's against the rope, you're switched on and you're moving. But when you're in the centre of the ring, he kind of just got a little lapse because he wasn't in that defensive mindset. But he'd have to box like Klitschko, and I think a lot of the times Joshua's kind of modeled himself on Klitschko. Well, I think up to the point of beating till he beat Klitschko. There were I was never at the sparring when Deontay Wilder was in the Klitschko camp, but I heard a lot about it, and a lot of the times they said that Vladimir was winning the spars. So it would tell you that style would be successful against him.
Yeah, whether Joshua...
I think Joshua would have to knock him out. I don't think he could navigate boxing 36 minutes. I just think he'd get caught.
But I wonder how Wilder would hold up against a good, hard, stiff jab. Ramming it straight at him, because he's pretty stationary himself. You know, he's just all about lining up for that right hand, isn't he? All the time. He's walking like he doesn't walk. He's awkward the way he walks around. He's uncoordinated, but he's just trying to get you lined up.
I think he's better. He's better than he used to be at the delivery system in terms of getting it off. Because he used to just lead with it all the time and like look very novice. But the other night he was kind of
threw a few jabs.
Yeah, exactly. He's getting
and the left hook to the body.
But it must be like from Wilder's point of view, it must be unbelievable knowing that you could absolutely stink out the place for 11 rounds, but
that's the beauty of it.
Like it's a home run. Like
we're gonna be speaking about him, man. The Japanese fighter Inoue, the power of these two guys, like, you know, it's just, isn't it? It's just.
Macklin on commentary was just comparing him to like a heavyweight Tommy Hearns. You might be able to tell us a little bit about this. So, because he's got these slim legs, so where's the power coming from? Is it all in the upper body? Yeah,
and it's just like traction with it. Like Tommy Hearns, it was precision, it was speed. You know, Tommy Hearns had a lot of tricks there. He could change the speed of his punches, and could hit you with a punch that you didn't see, and it was almost like you were like stunned, you know, and then you were gone. Like Wilder, it's just raw talk, isn't it? It's just like just the way he throws it, kind of.
You can actually see it, can't you?
Just comes from nowhere, and then it just like it comes from like well behind. Like he reaches out his hand a lot, and whatever way he just swings it unconventionally, he just generates this power
huge wingspan
that doesn't really make sense because. He's got a huge wingspan, he's got a huge shoulders, like he's got very wide shoulders, but he's got skinny legs, a narrow waist. Like
that's I obviously enjoyed the Fury and Wilder fight immensely. I really want to see Joshua and Wilder. I just want to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Now, again, like he kind of says these things in his post-fight interviews where it'll happen, and then 2 minutes later he kind of steps back a bit and maybe he shouldn't have said that.
I thought it was funny with Jim Gray. Was like, right, we don't want to see any of these Luis Ortiz or Dominic Brazil, and then 2 minutes later he calls over Luis Ortiz for an interview. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is so cringy. But it seems pretty unlikely those fights are going to happen this year anyway, because Ortiz is next for Wilder, and then Karanaki probably at the end of the year, so you're looking at 2020 at the earliest for Joshua. But as I said to Andy the other day, like Dillian Whyte, if he gets a shot before the end of the year, I'd actually be happy with that. You know, he's earned it. If no one else, he deserves a shot.
You see, the thing is, as well with heavyweight boxing, if he can continue knocking people out like that, it almost becomes like Mike Tyson, where you don't care who he's fighting. You just want to see him knock somebody out.
That's it, you're going.
You just want to see this thing.
I don't know, if you're going to a fight and the fight's over after a round, like, do you think we kind of got shortchanged? But then when you see a knockout that spectacular, even when you saw the slow motion of all the people around the ring, even reporters working on it, it's just jaw drops because they just can't get over the power you can generate with one punch. Love to see him on
social
machines.
Media.
The machine they had. They still have one of those in Coppers.
Social media knockout. That
there's one in what's that place up in Parnell Street, where all the sports are played?
Oh, Dr. Quirky's.
No. Is it like the living room? Not the living room. You know where they have all the sports? It's up the top, up by the Gresham. No, by the Gresham on that side of the street. Not Dr. Quirk's, like where they show all the sports.
It is the living room.
The living room, yeah. They've got one in there. They've got one in there outdoors, yeah. They've got one outdoors, yeah.
We
should get up there. We should get up there for the After the Wall challenge.
That's a remote.
But now, if we are doing it though, you have to have a punch with your left and right at Anthem, okay?
Okay.
Andy Ruiz apparently broke the PBC record.
Seen that, yeah.
So, that's what we're looking out for next week. Just it's always, it's pub talk, but the 1, 2, 3 in the heavyweight division, like, it tends to vary every time we see one of the guys. But Andy, who have you got on your podium there?
Tyson, 1.
I've always thought Fury, the best version of Fury is the best of the 3.
And then a toss-up between the other 2.
I'd have Joshua probably number 1.
I reckon, yeah.
And then Fury 2, Wilder 3. But again, it's all subjective.
They could all beat each other though. That's the great thing about it. But I hope we're not waiting too long for the next version of it.
I think it goes without saying that in a boxing match, Fury beats the 2 guys, but you know it's not all played on. It doesn't always go to the scorecard.
Who can you see breaking up those top 3? Like Dillian Whyte's an obvious one, but do you think like Dubois, Gorman, or Joe Joyce has a chance of breaking into those top 3?
Joyce is a bit of a nightmare, isn't he, for other heavyweights? What do you think of the link-up with Booth? Is that?
I think it's good. I think obviously I'm going to endorse it. He's quite slow. I hate to say this about any fighter, but he's quite slow. I know he admits that himself, but with Adam, that will improve. His speed will improve because he'll become more athletic. He'll become more.
How quick is that transition going to happen? Though?
It'll take time. It'll take time. It will take time. But he is a force to be reckoned with because he's such a big man, and he fights in he's probably a horrible guy to box against because he comes forward, he throws a lot of punches. And he had a good win. That was a good stoppage of Ustinov. Like, I wouldn't say that the elite guys had beaten him, but top guys had beaten him. You know, Pulev has beaten him and didn't stop him in 3 rounds, so that was a good win.
No, he just beats these guys like you've seen him
beaten Bermain Stavern. I know, probably, but like, it wasn't that long ago he's world champion, you know, so it's a good win. Even
like Lenroy Thomas, obviously no world beater, but at that stage of his career to just go in there and just walk through this guy was impressive in its own way. No, I'm interested to see how as you said, the tier 2 of the heavyweight division shakes up, because someone's going to have to earn that shot, even though I think, as I said, White...
William White's more than that, hasn't he?
560 something days as
see, the tragedy would be if he keeps fighting these so-called guys around this level now, and he loses a fight or has a bad night. And he doesn't get a chance, you know.
Rivas is very good and doesn't bring any cachet to the table, so White's not going to get any credit for beating him. But like Chisora was ahead on the cards against White in the rematch, only for he pulled out that Hollywood shot. So Rivas is better than Chisora. So you got all this boxing maths at play. So it's just that's a good point. Like, he has to kind of keep switched on and keep the eyes on the prize. But the analysis aside, and we were on with Jay on Friday talking about Andy, but just a lot of contention around Wilder's pre-fight comments, and he was a bit apologetic in the aftermath, although he didn't entirely row back. How do you reflect on that whole thing now?
As I said to you guys, I think obviously the comments, condone them, but I think it's probably doing it for 2 reasons: to promote the fight, probably the first one, then also to get into Brazil's head, and that would be hugely intimidating if you were to hear somebody like that say it with such conviction as he said it. Speak about you that I'm looking to kill somebody, and. So I think it had its effect. I think it done its job for him on both accounts. It promoted the fight, because up to that point no one was talking about it, and it also freaked out Brazil a little bit. No matter how it probably denies it, but Brazil will probably deny it, but I don't think you could listen to that and not be intimidated a little bit, or at least have some thoughts about it. It would occupy your mind.
Would he do it again? Would he say it again? Because he said it before.
You obviously hope that would never happen in a ring. It has happened, and we've talked about it. Of guys who it's happened to, they're never the same since. It's never the same after. Ray Mancini, or there's been a couple of guys who have died recently, Towell, wasn't it? Mike Towell, and even Barry McGuigan. He killed a guy in the ring. Young Ali was the guy's name, an African fighter.
Sergei Kovalev as well.
Yeah,
Chris Mannix did a documentary on that, and Kovalev just won't talk about it.
And even I spoke to Mike Perez about it, and the fact that he didn't kill that Magomed, wasn't it, the guy but he's seriously injured and never be the same again after the fight.
I was thinking Eubank and Watson as
well. Mike Perez said it really, really got it, really affected him. He had a lot of issues with it, mental issues, and would often think of the family and try and talk to the family and support the family as well. So you got to be careful with your words, especially when it's such a subject like that. I know, boxing, promoting fights, it's probably the natural stake. It's the next step of what we've seen of the absurd, isn't it? Because you see these promotions and they get out of hand and it goes on, and it's eventually going to escalate to someone saying that I want to kill somebody in the ring, and that's what it is. Isn't it? It's a natural progression of this thing. But I don't know. Nobody wants to see that.
No, it doesn't sit overly well.
Hopefully he doesn't actually mean it.
He's doing plenty right in the ring, so just leave it at that. You can signal your intent to knock somebody out in the build-up to a fight, which he does all the time. So no need to bring the body. I want someone in a body bag kind of.
And just a quick word on the undercard, Gary Russell Jr., who was in action against Kiko Martinez, Ireland's own Kiko Martinez, kind of. He put up a brave showing as ever, but Gary Russell's just levels and levels above. The frustration with him, of course, is inactivity, He's fought once a year for the last 5 years. His only loss was against Lomachenko, and that was the last time he fought multiple times in a year. So this is a really high-end operator. And that Lomachenko was a majority decision, so it's not as if he was blown away. At the time, I don't think people realised what a good fight that was, and now looking back, it's like, God, these two lads in their primes. But he called out Leo Santa Cruz, and that's the fight that has to happen. Like, if those two want to really test themselves, that's the one.
Do we have to wait till next year?
They're just becoming irrelevant, those guys, aren't they?
Yeah.
In a sense, because they're not fighting enough, and when they do fight, they don't fight anyone who you want to see.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a little bit
fight
tough.
somebody out, just retire, get on with it.
And Frampton, in his article at the weekend, was saying, put some money on me fighting for a world title before the end of the year. So the likelihood is Oscar Valdez, if he Card's going to fight in August in America, and then maybe Valdez at the end of the year. So it's a good styles fight. If Frampton can rediscover his best form, it's actually a fight that suits him.
Yeah, and like, let's not write Carl Frampton off here. He was, apart from one or two bad rounds that kind of sealed his fate, the fight with Josh Warrington, I could have played that completely different. And we've been sitting here talking about him being the greatest Irish fighter of all time, so like, let's not write him off. I think he needs to just put that fight into context and regain his confidence, because it does seem to be a little bit of, I don't know, after the fight, the way he spoke, so self-depreciating, but no, he's a great fighter, and I would love to. I can't wait to see him back in there. I think he has a lot more to offer. He's definitely not done. It just has to.
He was as busy as you at the weekend.
Oh yeah. Wait, what was he doing?
Jim Rosenthal, wasn't it?
He was around different ringsides. I could see him.
Oh, yeah.
He was at the Ryan Burnett fight. He was ringside with Nanita Denaire.
He was doing World Boxing Super Series commentary with Jim Rosenthal.
Yeah.
So that's.
I found that kind of interesting where he was sitting. I was looking, and kind of going, he's not that far away from the lads.
Yeah. Couple of tweets that could be interpreted from Carl Frampton. Let's just we just leave it at that. But
go on, tell me, what is this?
He wasn't far away from Josh Taylor's corner. Let's just say that.
Okay, and he was saying something about the McGuigans, was he?
I'm not going to put words in his mouth.
The court case has been put back apparently to September.
Yeah.
Between the McGuigans and Frampton, which will be interesting. See how that happens.
Yeah. And just on the Belfast boxing scene, the big return of Ryan Burnett on Friday night, and quite a routine win, but interesting comments in the post-fight that felt a little bit rusty, and Phil, as you said there, maybe not I didn't feel like Ryan, I think he said. Yeah,
he said he felt rusty, he thought he'd be sharper, and he didn't feel like the normal Ryan Burnett. But I mean, it's not a case of going in and basically, he's obviously sparred and he knows his back is all right.
That's when you know you've made it, when you can refer yourself to the third person, isn't it,
Absolutely. But he I thought it was, like, for a guy
I enjoyed it, yeah. I thought he was a tough little guy. What's his name? Gamera, yeah. Tough little guy.
He did the equivalent of feigning an injury or dying.
Yeah, he was doing
VAR for that stoppage.
Yeah, he did.
Because he was trying to cod the referee.
The fair play to the ref.
Yeah, he wasn't.
Well, the referee had made a mistake. Like, the referee kind of was undoing the mistakes he had made by going so hard on Ryan anyway, because a lot of those were just to the body, a lot of those just on the waistband, and then the guy kept making an issue of it.
Yeah. Burnett said that after the fight. He said a lot of the blows were hitting him on the arms and then sliding down, and of course he was milking it.
I thought he boxed into it. He kind of got better as it went on, and
seemed to enjoy it as well.
It was a good fight.
I love watching Ryan Burnett. He's such a unique style, but as I said to you the other day, like, he's come back at Super Bantam, and Adam Booth probably doesn't let people move weights unless there's some scientific validity behind it almost. Is this just a case of coming back after the injury, he didn't need to make the full cut to Bantam, or is he planning?
No, it's like Adam was telling me, he's made it quite easy. He could have made Superfly, and apparently he's made some changes to his diet where he's not eating meat anymore, he's just eating fish along with grains and carbohydrates and that. But I think it was just to give himself some options, see what's out there. A nice fight would have been, and it still could be, Ryan and TJ Donaghy would be a good fight. It's pretty Donaghy doesn't still have the belt, because it would be a nice all-Ireland fight for a world title. But it could be down the line, a little fight between the two of them, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? I'm sure it makes sense about them. Both of them on that world level. If a world title fight can't be had, then that'd be a nice fight for the two of them.
And it's not a huge adjustment compared to some other weight jumps in the boxing realm. Like, it's only 4 pounds to Super Bantam, so he doesn't have to modify his skill set all that much.
No. Yeah, it'd be. I think Adam said that's all it was. Nothing that they couldn't make the weight, just that they wanted to give themselves options about.
He's basically achieved everything he can at bantamweight anyway.
Yeah, and like the World Series is going to play out as well, and like you have to feel for Donaire now, don't you?
Yeah, Ryan says he wants a rematch with Donaire, so I think Donaire has his hands full of it.
Like I can't see Donaire fighting on for much longer after this series is random in whatever way it plays out. Like, listen, let's not like he wouldn't have fought anyone with his experience, Donaire, and his ring craft or savvy. So let's not completely write him off. And he has surprises up to now, but he has been not to rain his parade. Like I don't begrudge him. He's been incredibly fortunate, hasn't he? Because of Ryan getting injured and then Tete pulling out, that he's had this run into the final and like such a good guy, such a great fighter over the years. You wouldn't begrudge him, would you?
No.
He did kind of.
He's got his Hall of Fame credentials secure already, I think. And also on that Belfast card, the Ryan Burnett card, a fight we've been looking forward to for a while because it's been postponed and put off, but Garrity and McCullough finally got it on. And it was intriguing enough while it lasted, but the show was ended in the third round. It's a beautiful right-hand shot, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, and it goes back to like what Phil was saying about like Wilder only having to be lucky once, and that's, I'm not saying he was lucky because it was set up perfectly, the right hand kind of disguised it behind a jab, but Garrity walked straight onto it, and Garrity might have been winning the first couple of rounds, and it was looking good.
Making it awkward for him anyway.
Could have boxed. I think he could have boxed a bit more, or stayed upright, but he chose to get involved, and it was a sweet peach of a punch, wasn't it? Sweet knockout, and probably definitely his best moment in a ring for Michael McCullough, and probably very sweet because he's a guy who's toiled for a while and had a few losses and setbacks, whatever, and now he's on the high. I don't know what beating Garrity does for his record, does for his career, but might kickstart a bit of momentum now.
He's picked up a lot of these ranking titles with the different governing bodies, so maybe try and build some momentum. And I think it was the Frampton Martinez undercard. He was chief support and got a good win that night, and just never really kicked on. Granted, he was taking tough fights and just picked up a few losses.
What do you think about Garrity? Do you think it's over for him?
He was so highly thought of coming into the pros. He's never really put it together. Like that first fight with Carroll on the Matt Macklin undercard, he was Carroll was brought in as the opponent, and just kind of that was a weird ending, disqualification, but Carroll was kind of
and then the rematch or whatever.
That was a comprehensive defeat.
Yeah, he's you can see from his tweets that he's you have to give him fair play because he hadn't offered any excuse. He just took it on the chin, literally and figuratively, and said, "I was beaten, and that's it." Took a good shot. So, yeah, it's hard to see where he goes, isn't it? He's physically he's probably not finished, and he's still only a young fighter. He certainly has a lot of skill, but it's just when you've had losses like that, big losses to Tennyson, to Carroll, and now McCullough, domestic losses. It's kind of it, isn't it?
He's going to have to stay at domestic level until he overcomes that hurdle. He can't really go any further. McCullough similarly, maybe a Tennyson fight, or even if John O'Carroll needs another fight to get back into world title contention, might be an option.
Yeah. Even with Garrity's losses to Carroll and Tennyson, they went on to fight for world titles. Yeah. McCullough's never really shown that, and so that would just to put the loss into context, And
29 McCullough now, so still a bit of time to put a run together. Just on the Irish boxing scene, big news since we were last on, Michael Conlon take on Vlad Nikitin on August 3rd at Belfast Falls Park. One we've been really looking forward to. It's been mooted since both turned over, really. The press conference for that one took place last week, and this report is brought to you by Dara Bambrick.
What do you think? I think it's very impressive, This was a young man 7 years ago, right? Right after he won the medal in the Olympics in 2012. Big tribute, and they say that he lived in this area. That's great.
Thumbs up. stable, but he is, as a global, we're proud and honored to be associated with Top Rank. Keys to Top Rank, one of their strengths, is they're willing to bring the fights and the fighters.
Over there, right back.
Well, I wanted to come to Belfast. I haven't been here in about 30 years. Last time I was here, they had something called the Troubles. They were blowing up cars in the streets, and it wasn't a very pleasant place to be. And there wasn't 1 hour of sunshine. Today, it's like coming into a new world. It's a beautiful city now. Sun is out. Michael Conlan, the hero of Belfast, is here, and we're here to announce a terrific, terrific fight on August 3rd. Well, I think as everybody observed, while Nikitin had the gloves on and was fighting Michael in the fight, and everybody knew that Nikitin got the decision, it was really Michael against Vladimir Putin. It's clear as that. Putin was directing which Eastern Bloc fighters would win medals. Very, very unfair. Nikitin, who we signed to a contract after we signed Michael, with the idea that one day we would match them against each other in a fair and square contest with no political implications. The best man will win. Now, Vladimir Nikitin is a nice young man. You'll be meeting him. You can't really blame him for the unfair result. He really had nothing to do with it. It was the judges who were dictated to, who scored the fight. He believes that he will, in a professional boxing contest, be the victor over Michael. He really believes that, and he's a very, very good aggressive fighter. But maybe he's remembering Michael as an amateur, because Michael as a professional has really improved. He's a tremendous fighter, and I think on August 3rd we'll have a real treat. We'll see a great main event, and Michael will show all of you what he's made of.
This is the fight which I've wanted since that day, August 16, 2016. It was probably the worst day of my amateur boxing career, and it's a wrong that needs to be, wrote the right way this time. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's probably going to be the first fight that I've actually been able to get up for, because this is the only fight I've wanted since then. It's unbelievable. It's my back garden. I've probably fought in the Falls Park growing up as a kid. Now I'm probably getting paid to fight in the Falls Park against the biggest rival of my career.
Nikitin really does believe, as Bob says, that he's going to win. He wouldn't have took this fight no other reason. But to bring it to Belfast, to put it in front of the home crowd, the crowd that also felt the injustice that Michael suffered in Rio, to give it to these people, to do it in our own backyard, to be there to see the right being wrong, the Russian being beaten, is going to be very, very special on August 3rd.
This has been something that's been looming over my head since I did turn professional. It's something that probably my amateur career is going to be remembered for, and the fact that I can take that away and fix it, I've got to be very thankful. I'm very grateful to my management team, MTK, my promotional team, Top Rank, and obviously Phil and football. This is something that I'll be really, really proud of. The boxing in West Belfast, it doesn't happen much. The fights are always going to be in the Odyssey or somewhere else. So the fact that it's in West Belfast, where I'm from, I'll be very proud. And this will put my amateur career to bed and finally be able to move on to bigger and better things as a pro and achieve everything I've set out to achieve.
I remember 30 years ago, as I say, during the Troubles, where I forget the name of the arena, but the night of the fight when Barry McGuigan fought Bernard Taylor of the United States, it was absolutely packed, and everybody was unified cheering for McGuigan, and it was something that was noted all around the world, considering where people had read and been told about the troubles that were going on in Northern Ireland. So that was, to me, a very, very big event, and this one, because of the injustice in the Olympics with the decision and the controversy it caused, it will be, believe me, a well-watched event in the United States and the rest of the world. I don't know to what extent the government in Russia was responsible for the bad judging in the Nikitin fight, but this is a way that I think we can really change the dynamic. Have them fight in an open-air stadium with all neutral judges and a fair referee, and let the best man win. And that's the way it should be, and that's what I hope we'll have here on August 3rd, with millions and millions of people around the world watching.
The dream fight, it's the one I've wanted. I'm sure Vladimir Nikitin has wanted this one also. So the fact that it's done now and we're going to be fighting Falls Park, I'm actually not sure how many people now, but it's going to be fantastic. Outdoor arena, West Belfast, my back garden. I'm looking forward to it. That's the thing, it's going to be a mad atmosphere. But Vladimir's a Russian, they're tough dudes, you know what I mean. So I think he'll show up, but I don't think I think he'll crack under the pressure of the atmosphere, and obviously, I do believe I will take him out, and I will aim to take him out. It's going to be an exciting fight. Listen, there's things I need to prove to myself in this fight, and things I want to do in this fight. So, the atmosphere is going to be special. It's going to be loud, and it's going to be hostile for him, not so much for me. But it's something that I feel that I don't know how he will react under this kind of pressure, and I believe I'll stop him. So that's the kind of fight I'm going for. I'm not just going to dance around the place. I'm going to take this guy 100%. I don't want it to go to the points, so I'm not going to let it go to points. And that's the thing. Even though it's in my home city and basically in my back garden, stranger things have happened, and I'll not let that happen. It'll be a chapter closed. Right now we're basically writing history right now. Having Top Rank in Ireland, it's like a big show. Like us, Bob being here outdoor, in West Belfast, it's history being written and history being closed at the same time. But Bob has wanted to make this fight since he sent me on Vladimir. That was one of his aims, and now it's happening. He doesn't like injustice as much as anybody else, and the fact that he's here shows that he wants to be a part of this, and he's putting his full back behind it. Look, he looks like a badass dude, Vladimir. So he's going to be coming to try and take my head off, but I will take his off.
Nice.
I do believe this is. I've faced good opponents so far, but this is the first real one that I feel I'll get up for, and the opponent is going to come and try and take my head off. We have had opponents who have signed the fight in the past, and it hasn't kind of been the face that we expected. It's been a lot easier. So I feel this is going to be one where questions are going to be asked of me. I'll answer them, and I'm going to have someone try and take my head off. So I'm happy.
Yeah, Dara Bambrick there with that report from Belfast at the press conference last week. It's not a matchup that needs a lot of promotion or billing because people are already excited for it, but Top Rank really seem to be going full board on this one, and it's going to be a class occasion. If the weather's good, it just looks like an unbelievable setting, and it's going to be making it a good fight as well.
If the weather's good, hopefully it is. It wasn't great that night in Windsor Park, but boxing fans, sports fans, it's not going to put them off. And when you knew Bob Arum was coming over, you knew, right, they're
it's
making
pity
a
they
big
couldn't
deal.
get Nick Nova. I think he had some visa issues, but it would have been, just for the aesthetic of the thing, the look of it, to have him over and to face off and things like that. But what do you think about the fight?
I think it's a fight that Conlan doesn't need in terms of like the quality of opponent, but as he said himself, he wants it's closure for him. He said, I thought it was strange to hear him say that this is going to be his 12th pro fight, and maybe this is the first time he's going to be really up for a fight.
Yeah, well,
I can understand. Like, he's going to be the first 11 fights. He's fighting guys that he's expected to win, and it's all about trying to develop his skills in the pro game. And he's obviously had a change of trainer, and that's what these fights are for. But I still would have thought he'd be well up for them. Like, maybe he didn't articulate it maybe as well as he wanted to, but I can't imagine that he went into the previous 11 fights thinking, I'm not really.
I don't think, maybe you don't have to be up for it, but you don't have to be down about it either.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe that's what he was trying to say. And the fact that he knew that he was going to beat these guys, just how he was going to do it, maybe it was the case, because when you compete at the highest level, I've been a world champion as an amateur, the skills that you have to have are so complex, so maybe he knew that these guys were below his level, but that he had to just go out there and do the job and try and look good doing it. But I know as a professional, Nikitin hasn't showed anything. He's actually been, I've heard that he's been lucky to get a couple of the decisions. But when you look back at the Olympic fight, Michaels totally smashed him in the first 2 rounds, but the last round was close, and the last round was close. It was a fight in the last round, it was a fight. So maybe they can build some little narrative off that. I don't know, you know what I mean? Well,
look, if it goes to points, Conlan's going to win.
Imagine, in some ways, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to Michael. I know he's disgusted about it. But his profile is through the roof, and he's made a signature. It's kind of made a signature out of it, hasn't he? Like the middle finger.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's an inbuilt storyline, and that's probably what he means. He doesn't need to seek motivation. The motivation's there for the last 3 years. And Nikitin, as was touched on there, the consensus is he's probably not as good as his amateur pedigree suggests, and if they leave it much longer, he's going to get beaten by somebody else. So while they're both undefeated, let's get it on. Last but not least, on today's show, a really fantastic card in Glasgow, and it kind of belies all the problems elsewhere in boxing where people are reluctant to fight each other. In this format, you have to fight each other, and the best are fighting the best. And the World Boxing Super Series, the productions have always been great, in the arena and on TV, but it's just the broadcaster that's been an issue. They were on ITV4 initially, and issues with pay-per-view, fights that shouldn't have been on pay-per-view or behind that paywall. But now they seem to have landed on their feet, come back from the brink a little bit on Sky Sports, which is probably the best possible platform for it. And a breakout night for Josh Taylor, because people have probably heard a lot about him but haven't actually sat down and watched him fight. And just a really polished performance, and he's Scotland's latest world champion.
Yeah, he said it's a weight off his shoulders to get the world title, and it was in previous performances he's been so impressive and he's had it his own way, but he had to work for this. Bradchuk was awkward. And I'm just looking at the cards, two judges gave it by 4 rounds. There was a couple of knockdowns there for Taylor, so it was close.
Yeah, it was one of those fights where the rounds were competitive, but Taylor was winning a lot of them. And it reminded me a bit of Burnett against Zakyanov, that fight where the skill deficit was clear, and yet Taylor almost disarmed Baranchyk entirely by muscling him a little bit, or stood in the pocket and proved, you're not going to beat me this way either.
Yeah.
So having established that, his boxing skills came to the fore as the fight wore on. Dropped him heavily a couple of times, and there were levels there. If he needed to, if he was getting pushed a bit further, he probably could have improved himself a bit. And he's going to have to do that in the next fight, because Regis Prograis has opened as the favourite in the World Boxing Super Series finals. That's a tremendous matchup. They might be able to get it back to Glasgow, and that would be
a fantastic matchup. Yeah, some fight too. Two of the best young fighters out there who can both punch and box, and it's you have to take your hats off to Sauerland, the brothers, for putting this thing together, having the concept, and actually, there's been a lot of talk about it falling through, that it wasn't going to. Then, like, with every round, it's like, oh, that's the end of the World Series. The writing was on the wall for a lot of people, but they've got it. They've held it together. The fights are still happening, and it's producing some of the best fights. Like, from a Skype point of view, there hasn't been a better show on Sky in a long time, free to air.
One of the best double headers in a long time. I can't think of one to top it in recent times. Baranchik, limited enough. His shoulders were in incredible condition. I must say, incredible condition. I'll say no more about that. But he was limited enough, and Freddie Roach trained, so he's got that sort of pressure style down. But just was no match for Taylor. And another world champion for Shane McGuigan. So just going up in terms of his stock.
As a coach, yeah. Now I see he's working with Lawrence Okoli.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting to see how we can try and polish.
He's going to be world champion by the end of the year.
Really?
No, yeah. Within a year. Sorry, within a year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he what he can do with him.
Yeah.
It's a bit awkward, isn't he?
Yeah.
We'll end with a bang, literally a bang, with Naoya Inoue, who probably the biggest puncher pound for pound in the world, you'd have to say, and against a really talented champion, Manny Rodriguez, who like a really class fighter. In any other era, he'd be grand, he'd be winning, picking up multiple titles, but this guy's just a freak.
It's insane, isn't it?
There's a reason he's called the Monster.
Like, we didn't know. Obviously, he's in Japan and he's knocking guys out. We don't know what it's like. You don't know the level of opponents, but he's just knocking them. Like, just when you see those body shots landing and then the hooks, it's like.
And that's the beauty of this competition, that he gets
the exposure. Yeah,
came over to Glasgow. Imagine, like, I wasn't fortunate enough to be there, but if you were paying to go and watch your home favourite, and then this guy's fighting beforehand, you're going to be leaving the place. Okay, obviously happy that Josh Taylor has won a world title, but you're going to be talking about it now,
And it was something that was levelled at Golovkin a little bit before he came to America. Who was he actually fighting? And he was knocking over these guys. But you can't say this about Inoue, because like his last three opponents, 68-3 record, top level operators, and his last 4 world title fights, seven rounds combined. It's incredible stuff. And people say there's no knockouts at lower weights. He's gone the championship distance once.
I don't know.
Ever.
Like, we know, I think, like, if Donaire pulled out, I don't think anyone would have a problem. And replace him with Tete, get Tete back in there.
Or Ryan Burnett, if he wants to jump back in.
Yeah, I don't want Ryan going in there with the monster. Ryan would jump at it, though. Ryan would take it. Like Ryan said, Ryan was well up for that fight,
Yeah, well, much like people had earmarked Taylor against Prograis, it was on the bantamweight side, everyone assumed it was going to be Burnett and Inoue. And as you said, Adam Booth seemed well up for that matchup, so he also said Rodriguez had a good chance the other night.
He did. I don't want to throw him under the bus now, but I wouldn't say that Adam Booth had a few quid on Rodriguez. So,
it happens to all of us. This is his third weight class as well, and he skipped one, so he's a bit of a freak. But where does the power come from with him?
It's mad, isn't it? He's such a light-looking fella. Like, he has no real. Like, at least with Wilder, you can see the upper body shoulders and that.
Because even when he throws them, he's throwing them. There's obviously conviction in them.
But some people have that kind of density of their bones that everything they hit you with is hurt. Yeah,
Donaire's going to find out soon enough about the power.
That was a very entertaining weekend.
Has there been any date set for the finals?
I think they're looking at September. They try to do it sometimes in a double main event, but I think they're going to try and split it up just for monetary reasons, because if they do Prograis and Taylor in Glasgow, it'll do good business.
New Orleans does good though. New Orleans, he sells out well in New Orleans.
I think because Prograis was there the other night and got in the ring and said, well, I was going to come back if he weren't booing me. So,
really?
So I think he's all on board for coming back. And as I said, he opens as the favourite, so it just shows Taylor's got this, has been mooted as a pound for pound prospect, and Prograis is even better. So even people in this side of the world who mightn't be familiar with him, just shows how good he is as well.
Where would they have the other fight then?
Asia. They have to do it. Filipino against the Japanese, like.
I think there was talk of California as well.
Really? Yeah. Well, HBO are out of the game now, so who would televise it?
I think DAZN have the American rights over there.
I'm sure there would be big demand for Inoue in America. To see him.
That's the beauty of it as well. Sky over here in DAZN, people who just had no means of watching the first series of the of this tournament, which was equally good with Usyk and George Groves and Callum Smith. Obviously headlined the super middleweight version of it, but now it's opened and at a point where it seemed to be on the brink in terms of its feasibility. It's now at an all-time high probably in terms of its exposure.
Season 3, roll on season 3.
Yeah, well, there'd be a heavyweight version. That would be the ultimate.
See, there's this thing that have to break the bank, wouldn't they? Like.
Well, that's actually what.
Best of the rest.
I never mentioned it earlier as well. When Wilder kind of wrote back in his comments about fighting whoever, he said these things could take time because we've got to get the best deal. Like, so, it's all about money, obviously, and that's why you'd never get something like that. I'll tell you, my Skybox was jammed with all the boxing on this weekend, recording things. The memory, I have this phobia of the memory going down, because there was a fight I didn't stay up to watch one a couple of years ago, and I recorded it and it ran out of memory and I missed the last few rounds. I was like, what's the point then?
Oh, it's tough. And then this weekend, Andy, just last word, anyone who's in Belfast for the Celtic Clash at the
Celtic Clash, I think it's Saturday, is it?
Back at its first venue again.
So there'll be some good fighters up there, and they're always good shows, good entertaining shows. So support local boxing and get in and see Celtic Clash at the Devonish.
And then next weekend, a big card on the docket comes from Madison Square Garden. We'll build up to that next week. Fights for Katie Taylor and Anthony Joshua, of course. For now, though, that's all from us. Thanks, lads.
Thank you.
Thanks to producer Tom as well. Until next time, it's goodbye from us.